Okay, guys, so last time we started with the second area of the writing test, which is the expression of ideas, right? We said we have three areas in expression of ideas. The first one is development of ideas, and last time we discussed that. If you remembered, we said that when we talk about development of ideas, then there are four main points. The first one is proposition, where they ask us about the main ideas, whether it's the main idea of the whole passage or the topic sentence, the main idea of one paragraph. And then when we talk about the paragraph, there are two kinds of questions that ask us about the details. The first one is support. The second one is focus. And then the fourth and the last point that we have in development is the graphics. And I believe that we explained everything here. We discussed them all, and we did all the exercises about them. Now we're going to move to the second point, which is organization. So you've developed your ideas. You know exactly what main ideas that you would like to discuss in the passage. You try to support these main ideas with supporting details and main points. Now you need to organize them, right? As you can see here, we have 2 points in the area of organization. First of all, we have logical sequence, and then we have introductions, conclusions, and transitions. Okay, now actually I'm going to start with the second point. All right, so here is the thing. So of course, this is the writing and language test. And this is the area of, or the category of expression of ideas. And the area is organization. All right, so number one, what was it? We said we're going to start with introductions. Okay. And then we have transitions and conclusions. Okay, that's what we're going to work on now. So please focus with me. Okay, A, introductions. We already talked about the introduction of the whole passage and the introduction of one paragraph, right? Well, what do we call the main idea of one paragraph? The main idea of a paragraph is called what?
Thesis.
Theme.
The main idea
Plot.
of the paragraph. The sentence that contains that idea is called what?
Thesis statement.
Again, Usama, I'm talking about a paragraph.
Topic sentence?
Yes, it's the topic sentence, right? Thank you. Jenna also already mentioned that about the topic sentence. So when we talk about topic sentences here, we already talked about them last time, okay? We said, now here we have actually two situations, okay? The first one, now, if the options A, B, C, and D give us different sentences, right? Which means different ideas. What did we agree to do? Then we need to read the whole paragraph. And while we are reading, what do we do? Highlighting the key points to decide which option presents the best topic sentence. That's what we said last time, right? So then we're going to add something else. Well, it's already familiar to you as well. The second option is that when you look at the options A, B, C, and D, if the options have the same idea, Okay, so I don't have different sentences. I have the same idea, but the sentence is written in different ways. Then we go back to what? To the rule of, if I have options, guys, that all basically have the same meaning. What was the rule for that?
Shorter is better.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Shorter is better. Okay, because we want the topic sentence. Okay, the topic sentence should be clear, number one, of course, concise. Okay, and to the point. That's what we want it to be. Okay, it's pretty easy, and we already know these two ideas. So now they underline the first sentence that you have in the paragraph, which is the topic sentence, and they ask you if you would like to keep it as it is or change it. First of all, we're going to look at the options. Do the options give us different ideas? If the case is so, then I need to go back to the paragraph, read the whole thing quickly, highlighting the key points as we did last time. And then after I summarize the discussion of the paragraph by highlighting those key points, I can choose the best sentence that covers the main discussion in the paragraph. If the options give us the same idea but in different ways, then we already know the idea of shorter is better. You know, we talked about redundancy, wordiness, and we talked about passive versus active. Then we go and we choose shorter is better, right? Whether there's wordiness or redundancy or passive, we don't choose any of these. We choose a sentence that's clear, active, and concise. Okay? So in introductions here, actually, we can say that we are already familiar with that. There's nothing new. Okay? That's the first part. Now, the second part, which is about, let me actually just start a new page. Okay, so now the second area here is transitions. Okay, now sometimes it's an underlined phrase, it's an underlined sentence, and so on. So it's just a matter of connecting what's before and what's after. Okay, so let me tell you something. So A, we can have, we can be asked about a transitional phrase or sentence. As usual, they will underline it and they will ask us how we can move from the sentence before to the sentence after. What is the best transition here? Okay, okay, so we need to read the part before and the part after. Okay, trying to connect them together in the best way possible. Okay, making sure that there is nothing missing between them. Okay, that's the whole thing. You need to have a smooth, we can call it here, smooth transition. Okay, which means I'm moving from one idea to another without missing any point, without moving suddenly from one area to another. No, I'm just going step by step. The transition is smooth. I'm going to show you some examples about that. But the second part, which is more important, and you have a lot of questions about it on the SAT writing test, is the transitional words. Okay, as we know, we have many transitional words and we can classify them according to what kind of relationship of ideas they show us, right? So if the relationship of ideas is cause effect, then what kinds of words, well, what kind of words do we have? We have
Cause,
therefore, yeah, we have therefore, as a result, consequently, so, because, and so on. If it's contrast, of course, we have however, on the other way, or on the other hand, yet, but, etc. If we have addition, we can use words like moreover, also, plus, and so on. Okay, so for you're going to have a lot of questions on transitional words. Okay, so how can I answer a question about a transitional word? Of course, as usual, the transitional word is underlined and they just ask you to keep it as it is or change it. Okay, number one. Now I'm listing the steps. Okay, how to do it. Read the sentence before. Again, what do we do when we read? We highlight. Okay, highlighting the keywords to get, again, why do we highlight? To get a summary of the idea in the sentence. Okay, all right, so you read the sentence before. Now you can choose 2 or 3 main words that will tell you what the idea in this sentence is. Last time, if you remember, when we read the topic sentence of one of the paragraphs, we said transportation planners work with, you know, a wide range of community stakeholders such as organizations and government departments and so on and so forth. To summarize the sentence, we highlighted transportation planners work with. That's it. Because the sentence is just trying to tell you who transportation planners work with. That's it. So this is the kind of summary I'm talking about. Okay, you did that. You do the exact same thing with the sentence after. Okay, after the keyword. Again, doing what? Same thing, highlighting the keywords. Again, you're trying to summarize the second sentence that comes after the transitional word. All right, so now I have summary of both sentences. I know what the summary of the previous sentence, I know the summary of the following sentence. What do I do now? You need to determine, and this is the most important part now, the relationship between the 2 ideas or sentences, right? Is the first sentence the cause and the second sentence is the effect? Is the first sentence comparing something mentioned in the second sentence? Do we have contrast? What kind of relationship do we have? Do we have an idea and then it's followed by an example? So we can start with words like for example or for instance. Am I mentioning an idea in the first sentence and I'm trying to explain it or clarifying it to in the second sentence? So you need to determine the relationship. That's the most important part. Okay, and then of course, based on the relationship of ideas, we choose the best transitional word or of course phrase. Okay, these are about transitions. Now we are left only with one part, which is what? So we said we have introductions. We talked about introductions. We said if the introduction question is asking you about the first sentence, then you have 2 options. First of all, you look at the choices you have, A, B, C, and D. If they give us different ideas, I need to read the whole paragraph, summarize the main points so that I can choose the best topic sentence. No, the options are giving us the same idea, but in different ways. We go back to the rule of shorter is better. We try to see if the sentence is worthy, or it contains redundancy, or it's in the passive voice, right? In transitions, we just talked about, you can be asked about a transitional word, or you can be asked about a transitional phrase or a transitional sentence. And of course, we're going to do exercises about all of these things, okay? I'm just trying to give you the concepts first, understand theoretically what we're going to be asked about, and then I'm going to show you how we work on that. So the final area, which is conclusion, because we have introduction, the beginning, we have transition in the middle, and of course at the end, what do we have? We have the conclusion, right? Look, here, there is only one thing that you need to keep in mind, okay? And there's nothing else. The conclusion question will tell you exactly what you need to do. That's it. When there is a question about the conclusion, the question itself will tell you what you need to do. All you need to do, okay, before you choose the right answer. So let me write that here so that everybody can remember. So before choosing an answer, all we need to do is read the question carefully, right? Again, what do we do when we read? We highlight, highlighting the keywords. If you know exactly what the question wants you to do by focusing on the keywords in the question, definitely you will get the right answer. And there is nothing more about conclusion. That's all you need to do. You go to the question itself before you look at the options. Don't look at the options at all, but read the question very carefully. Highlight the keywords that are telling you what you need to do. And then after that, you can go to the options and choose the idea that is required in the question. Okay, so these are the 3 points. Let's get to practice. I already sent you on the group this documents. The document is called LM6 organization. All right, the first question here we have, actually, as you can see, it's about the conclusion. All right, and what did we agree? The question will tell you what to do. You just need to read carefully, highlight the keywords. The writer wants to conclude the passage with a sentence that, here is your focus. What is that sentence doing? We need a sentence that emphasizes, okay, so it highlights, it shows the importance of an enduring legacy of Kingman's work. Okay, I highlighted this part because this is the part that's telling me what I need to do. Okay, so we already know that Kingman is a painter. We had a lot of questions about this passage before, right? And here, this is what I'm going to stop at, an enduring legacy. First of all, guys, what does it mean, enduring legacy? Can you help me? Muhammad, why are not you there? Jannah, why are not you there? Usama, why are not you there? Come on, guys. Yahya, even you, ya Yahya. I had hope in you, man. So again, my question now is, what does it mean, an enduring legacy?
A legacy that won't be forgotten easily.
Perfect. So the legacy is what a person leaves after they die, whether it's art, knowledge, money, houses, cars. When somebody dies, they leave something behind them. So this is legacy. You can also say heritage. Okay. Enduring here as an adjective, it means long lasting. So these are the things that I need to focus on. Now I'm going to read all the options, A, B, C, and D. I'm going to ask myself, okay, which sentence is showing me the importance, is emphasizing or highlighting the enduring legacy, the long-lasting legacy of Kingman's work? All right, let's see how we can do this. If we read the first option, A, although Kingman's work might not be as famous as, look, first of all, this is a negative point because they are telling us that his work is not famous as that of other watercolor painters, such as Georgia and Edward. It is well regarded by many people. So yes, this sentence is telling us that his work is well regarded by many people, but it's not that famous. And of course, that doesn't give the importance or the value of his work, right? It doesn't work here. So A is wrong. If we read B, since Kingman's death, so this is a reference to legacy, because we said legacy is what somebody leaves after their death, but I cannot just judge from this phrase. I need to continue, of course, to the end. So since Kingman's death in 2000 museums across the United States and China. So here we're talking about what? Popularity. Because now we're talking about museums in two different countries, the United States and China, have continued. The idea of continuous work, it shows us what? The long lasting, right? To ensure that he's now iconic. Iconic is emphasizing what? The legacy. Landscapes remain, again, look, remain like continued. So it's about long lasting. Available for the public to enjoy. And it's connecting those museums to the public. All right. So far it works. Everything is fine. It's talking about his death. It's talking about how these museums, right? In two different big countries like the USA and China are showing or displaying his work. and making sure that they remain available for the public to enjoy. But I need to check the other options, of course, okay? The urban landscapes depicted in Kingman's body of work are a testament to aptness of the name chosen for Kingman when he was just a boy. So here they're just telling us that he deserved the name Kingman, okay? So again, the focus is not on his name, it's about the value of his work. Let's go to D. Kingman's work, okay, that's good so far, was but one example of a long-lasting look. So now we have long-lasting, which is just a different way of saying enduring, right? And then we have tradition. It's kind of similar to legacy, refreshed by an innovative artist with a new perspective. All right, so enduring, I have long-lasting. And then legacy, I have tradition. Doesn't that work? You need to be a little bit more careful. Here they are telling us that it's just one example, but one example. And that doesn't really show us the importance of his work. So just because they are telling us that his work is but one example, which means that there are many other examples about this tradition. So I cannot choose D, despite the fact they give us the same words, not the same exact words, I mean they're synonyms, because we always say focus on the idea, not on the words. So yes, the best answer is B. Again, Naya and Muhammad and anybody else, please open up your cameras. I will be very sorry to remove those who just keep their cameras closed. Okay, guys, so here, as you can see, what I did, I read the question carefully. I know exactly what the question wants me to do. I read all the options that I have. I analyzed them, and I chose the best one that gives me what the question wants. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
This question, it's يعني it goes under the last rule we talked about conclusion.
Yep,
that we
sure.
when we have a conclusion question, we read the questions carefully.
What do we do this time?
We read the questions carefully, right?
Yeah, as usual. Look, the issue of highlighting keywords, I'll ask you to do it on every single step, whether it's in the writing test or in the reading test, because we need to analyze the language, right? This is what makes the SAT more difficult than other tests, because other tests ask us about information, on the superficial, the surface area, which means you read, they ask you, what did the passage say? And we answer. But on the SAT, we need a lot of analysis. We need to analyze the language. We need to analyze the ideas. We need to analyze the relationships between ideas, okay? And the best thing is to focus our mind on the keywords that reveal these ideas. And that's why we are doing this. All right, now, the second question here, and the third one, we have two questions now about transitions. The first question is about number 4. So they're telling us, which choice results in the most effective transition to the information that follows in the paragraph? Okay, and so this is very important. So I know already, of course, from here that this is a transition question, and my focus will be more on what follows, right? And this is question number 4. So here we are in question number 4. If you remember, we already answered this question. We said this is related to parallel structure, and we said designing. Now, so the work of transportation planners generally include evaluating current transportation needs, assessing the existing facilities, and improving those facilities or designing new ones. All right, that's all in the first sentence. Now, the second one, it says, most transportation planners work where? So again, I'm talking about transportation planners. In the previous paragraph, if you remember, the focus was who they work with, okay? This time, the focus is where they work. So where do they work? They work in or near cities. So before the underlined part, I am told, or we are told, that they work where? In or near what? Cities. That's what my focus is on now. But some are employed in rural areas. This is the part where I need to decide to keep it or change it. But we said we need a transition to the sentence that follows. So I'm going to read the next one as well. So here we have an idea. As you can see here we have a key point. But what is the second sentence that we have here? It's an example about what? About that key point. And I need that transition between them. Okay, you have a key point, you have an example following it. Now, let's read the example and see if it's consistent with the key point or not. If you go there, say, for example, a large factory is built on the outskirts of a small town. As you can see here, the example is about what? It's not about cities. It's about the outskirts of a small town. So the key point is about cities, but the example is about small town. And that's not the same thing, right? Because these are cities. Here we are talking about the countryside, like villages and towns and so on. So here we need a transition to move from cities to small town. So what do we have in the transition? If we read it here, but, so first of all, it shows us contrast. What is the contrast about? It's between, again, cities and towns. Let's continue. Some are employed where? In rural areas. Rural areas, again, it means the countryside. So does this part of the sentence provide me with a smooth transition? Yes, it does, right? Let's just see, what if I choose something else? First of all, remember, I'm going to just write it here. You ended the first part talking about cities, but you give the example about a small town. And the transition that they gave us in option A, talking about rural areas. Okay? Now, if we choose B, where job opportunities are more plentiful. Okay, here, this relative pronoun where will be referring to what? It came after the word cities. So I'm talking about cities where job opportunities are more plentiful. Okay, good. So you are still talking about cities. And in this part, you are mentioning that there are more job opportunities, but then you gave the example about small town. That's still not consistent because where as a relative pronoun is still referring to cities. And again, following example is about rural areas. Does it work? What about C? And the majority are employed by government agencies. Here you're telling me about who employs them. It's the government agencies. So we said the main idea in the sentence is not about who, this time it's about where. So see, does it work? If we delete it, they are telling us delete the underlined portion and end the sentence with a period. If we delete the sentence, again, it will be no transition from cities to small town. So it will also not work. So the option is keep it as it is, no change. That's what we mean by smooth transition. Your idea is about cities. Your example is about small town. That's a sudden transition, and the example will not be, efficient to clarify the idea. So we need that transition in between to tell you about cities and then rural areas, and then the example is about a small town related to the rural areas. Okay, guys, is it clear now how transition works?
Yes.
Okay, the second part of transition, if you remember, we said, okay, they will ask about phrases and clauses or even sentences, but they will also ask about transitional words. As you can see, we have for instance, for furthermore, similarly, and we have what we have next. Again, what do? We read the first sentence, we summarize it by highlighting the keywords. We do the same with the following one. We identify the relationship, and then we choose the best one. We already read this part, so we said the first sentence is talking about who transportation planners work with. Okay, and then when we read the second sentence, we said, for example, we have representatives from the local public health department. So we said here, if you remember, the relationship between these ideas, of course, this is the topic sentence, right? Which means in this sentence, I have a main idea. which is who transportation planners work with. The second sentence mentioned representatives as a way of what? Of giving what? An example. So again, the relationship between these two sentences here is main idea followed by an example. Next
idea.
Yeah. Is next a word that we can use to introduce an example?
No.
No, we use it when we have sequence. So it doesn't work here. Why? Because I already know that I'm mentioning those representatives just to give an example about who works with transportation planners. And I go to the option, keeping in mind that the relationship is what? Again, it's idea to an example. So we already said A doesn't work. What about for instance? Does it work to introduce an example?
Yes.
All right. Furthermore, we use it when we have addition, which means you're already done with your first idea and you are going to move to another idea. But here we're not adding anything new. We're just giving an example about something already mentioned. So no. Similarly, it's also addition. Okay, but you are, of course, from the word itself, as it tells, we are adding something similar, but maybe in a different situations, in a different place, in a different area. Again, it doesn't work. The best word here, or transitional word that connects these two sentences together is for instance.
Can you repeat the use of similarly?
It's addition. You're adding another idea, but it's similar to the previous one.
Okay.
Okay. So far, we practiced on conclusion and transition. What part haven't we practiced on so far? We talked about 3 areas. Now we exercised on 2 areas, which are the transitions and the conclusions. Which area?
Introductions.
Introductions, good. And that's why question number 17 is about introductions. As you can see, when I read the question, you're telling us that which choice most smoothly and effectively introduces, so I know it's an introduction question, the writer's discussion of studies of CCZ in this paragraph. You have different options. You have the underlined sentence in number 17. I need you to read the sentence itself. Look at the options. Are they giving us different ideas? Then I need to read the whole paragraph to decide. Or are they giving us the same idea in different ways? Then I need to go to the rule of shorter is better. I'm going to give this question completely to you guys. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You already have the documents on the group. You can download it there if you want, because I cannot, go back and forth like this. I'm going to keep it here on the question, the option, and you send me your answers on the chat box. Okay, let's do it.
Which one's
Which one is the answer? You're going to tell me, man.
which one? No, which just 17?
Yeah, just 17.
Okay. Should I send it in the chat box or on WhatsApp?
Yes, no, chat box, man. Okay, so where are your answers, guys? All right, so most of us agree on the right answer, which is A, no change. Here, as you can see, we don't actually have different ideas. It's the same idea expressed in different ways, right? So B and C are worthy. We don't need them. And if we delete the topic sentence, then, you know, there will be no main idea for the whole paragraph. And you can know that because if you read what's following, immediately in the second sentence, they say, one reason that is often cited is the use of pesticides. Okay, so one reason is the use of pesticides, but one reason for what? So you will notice from the second sentence that you need this sentence, you cannot delete it, right? So yes, the answer is A. We cannot choose B and C because, as we said, they are worthy. B, we will be missing the main idea of the whole paragraph. Now, as you can see here, 22 is another conclusion question. When we started practice, the first kind of question we practiced on was conclusion. And I told you, all you need to do is study the question, highlight the keywords, choose the best conclusion according to what you need in the keywords. Just let me tell you here that here the word is future. So this H is just extra. Okay, the word is future of efforts to combat CCD. So the question is number 22. The sentence that you already have in this paragraph is this. Okay, again, they just forgot to underline it. So I'm underlining the sentence for you. All right. So this is the underlined sentence, and they are telling us we need a conclusion that's talk about so and so. You need to go and read the question, highlight the keywords. What kind of conclusion do they want us to choose? You read the underlined sentence here, and of course you compare it to the other options, and then you ask yourself, all right, which sentence is giving me the idea required in the conclusion question itself? You choose the right answer, as we did in the first question we did together, and you send me your answer on the chat box again, okay? Yes, Jenna, it's worthy, and they say offered by studies. So it also contains passive. And we said active versus passive, we choose the active one. All right, guys, so I'm waiting for your answers, please. Question number 22, it's a conclusion question. It's about the sentence that I've just underlined in green. Okay, this time we have different answers, all right? Let's see. So what were we supposed to do? Okay, so we read the question, and as usual, they tell us that the writer wants a conclusion that, okay, that does what? It addresses the future of efforts. What kind of efforts? To combat CCD, to fight this disease, right? So we have CCD, which is the colony collapse disorder. We talked about that before. It happens to honeybees. And we already said that honeybees are vanishing because of this. And now they're telling us, okay, we need a sentence that focuses on the future of efforts fighting this disease, right? Now let's start with D, okay? Genetic variation in bee colonies generally improves bees' productivity. So this is something positive. We are improving their productivity. Disease resistance, another positive thing, and ability to regulate body temperature. So these things are all good to the health of honeybees, right? But are there any kind of efforts we're doing here? First of all, look, these are happening because of what? Because of genetic variation. So it's already something that exists in honeybees. It's not any kind of effort we are doing to fight the disease. It's something they have, genetic variation in the bee colonies. So D doesn't work. Yes, we have many positive points in a list: productivity, resistance, regulate body temperature. But again, that's not our effort. It's just the genetic variation. C says, although CCD is a relatively new phenomenon, so they are telling us that this disease is new. Despite that, scientists have been studying other aspects of honeybees. Okay, where are their efforts in fighting the disease? They are doing what? They are studying other aspects of what? Of honeybees for over a century. Okay, good. They've been doing a lot of work and study and research on honeybees for over 100 years. But what are the efforts? Nothing mentioned, so C is wrong. As you can see, all I'm focusing on is what? The future of efforts. That's everything that I'm focusing on. B, still, bee colonies have experienced such devastating losses. As you can see here, there's something negative. They're not talking about the efforts to fight the disease. They are talking about the losses because of the disease, that the consequences of the issue have been felt worldwide. It doesn't work. So the only left answer to us is A, no change. Now we go to the sentence that's already there in the paragraph, and let's see how does it show us the future of efforts. Look, first of all, a decrease in the use of certain pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. That's the first effort. What should we do? We should decrease our use of these three things: pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Okay, what else? As well as, in addition to, greater attention to the nutrition, habitat, and genetic diversity of managed hives. So we should pay attention also to these things. Okay, where is the future here? I know that we're talking about efforts, but one other keyword is the future. Look, it's here. It could begin. So that's a reference to the future. It hasn't begun yet. These things, if we decrease our use of these pesticides, etc., and if we pay greater attention to the nutrition, habitat, etc., what can that do, or what can that make? It could begin a shift in a favorable direction. This is something positive, favorable, positive direction. So the answer is A, no change. Why did I choose this option? Because again, all I focused on from the question is telling me I need a sentence that tells me about the future of efforts of fighting this disease. What are the efforts? Decrease the use of these things and pay greater attention to the other things. Okay, where is the future? It could begin a shift in a favorable direction. That's the sentence now that gives me what the keywords are asking me to choose. So it's the right answer, no change. Is everything clear by now?
Yes, I have a question though. Can I ask?
Yep, sure.
When we have although as a transitional word, what does it refer to, or yani?
Contrast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
contrast. Welcome. Do you have any other question? All right, here is the thing. When you go to the group, let me just see here. You will see that one of the documents that I shared with you today is also called organization, right? So there are two documents about organization. The first one is about, you know, the document that we've just shared together and we did all the questions. The other one is just called organization, and it tells you about placement, sentence placement questions. Now I'm going to give you a 15-minute break. We're going to come back at 6:45, but please just give yourself the last 2 or 3 minutes of the break reading this document. Okay, it's about sentence placement because it's all about just, you know, theoretical work. I need you just to read it so that we can be ready to the next step that we're going to have after the break. Okay, guys, and we're going to come back at 6:45. So stick around. Okay, guys, now we're back. So let's get started, please. Come on, everybody, I'm waiting for you. Okay, so in the first part of organization, we talked about introductions, transitions, and conclusions. Okay, what else do we have? The second point that we have here is logical sequence. Mainly, we're talking about sentence placement. And as you can see here, we have different ways of how they ask the question, but at the end, it's all the same thing. But sometimes the sentence is already there in the paragraph. And of course, whenever there's a question about sentence placement, then you're going to see that the paragraph sentences are numbered, which usually, doesn't happen. It only happens, they only number the sentences if there's a question about sentence placement. So whenever you start reading a paragraph and you see that it starts with a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then of course there will be a question about sentence placement. So sometimes the sentence that you are asked about is already there in the paragraph, and you just need to see if you can keep it where it is or put it in somewhere else, or they will give you a new sentence in the question. It's going to be under the question directions, and then they ask you that we need to add this sentence, but where? Of course, again, you're going to decide where to put this sentence. So how can I do that? What kind of things are going to help me? First of all, as you can see here, guys, we have 5 things that we can use to help us understand where this sentence should be placed, okay? First of all, from you reading and from all the different types of practice we're doing, you try to get a sense of what kind of information I have in this sentence. Is it a main idea? Is it general? Or is it specific? So that will help me just to decide if it should be the topic sentence or not, which means, should it be the first sentence of the paragraph? That means it's a general idea, the main idea of the whole paragraph. Or does it give me just specific details? So it's going to be in the support part. Okay. Then when I'm reading the paragraph, I again need to understand the relationship of ideas in this paragraph. Again, am I using the comparison style? Am I talking about a problem and then after that presenting a solution? Is it just sequence, the order of, a group of events that happened? Is it cause and effect, and so on? The third point is, of course, I need reference words. Okay, I need something that refers to something mentioned earlier. I need pronouns. As you can see, we have this and that and these and those. Also, I can use any pronouns: her, his, him, ours, etc. And then when I look at these nouns and pronouns, I need to look for connection between singular nouns and plural nouns. And the last part here, step or the key number 5 is the transitional words. Of course, if there are transitional words in the paragraph, that will also help me to understand the relationship of ideas. Okay, so look for these things when you are reading the paragraph. Look at the sentence you are asked about. Ask yourself, does it give me a main idea or a specific detail? And then while you are reading the paragraph and highlighting the key point, what kind of relationship of ideas do I have in this paragraph? Do I have nouns? Do I have pronouns? Are they singular or plural? Is there any reference words? Is there any connection between these nouns and pronouns? And if I have transition words or not? Okay, these are the things that you should look for when you are answering a sentence placement question. But how to do it? Here we are just putting our work in steps. Okay, number one, the usual thing, read the question, decide if the sentence that you are asked about, whether it's already there in the paragraph or it's going to be added. Okay, as simple as that. Number two, keep the number of the sentence in your mind. Of course, the question will tell you what sentence it is. For example, it's sentence number 3. So you're going to, of course, start reading from the beginning of the paragraph from sentence number 1, but you're going to keep in mind that the question you are asked about, it's already there in the paragraph and it's sentence number 3. Okay? Now, while you are reading the paragraph, as I told you before, there might be other questions. It's not only, you're not reading the whole paragraph only to answer this question. There are other questions that can be about punctuation, grammar, and so on. So in order not to waste time, while you are reading the paragraph, at the same time, you are answering the other questions. Okay? And usually the other questions will be something simple. As I said, punctuation, grammar, wordiness, and so on. All right. So now you read the whole paragraph, you answered all the other questions while you were reading. Now you focus on this kind of question. And now you look for the things that we talked about while you were highlighting. Did you highlight a reference word, a pronoun? Did you find a transitional word? Did you find anything else that can help you in the paragraph to understand the relationship of ideas and so on? Right? Now, you did, and you finished analyzing the paragraph, and you decided that it should be placed here. Before you just finalize your answer, you need to read the sentence before and the sentence after, of course, to get the context. Okay? And that will help you to choose the best answer. Let's put that into practice. Okay? Let's see how we can do that. All right. So, as I said, usually the paragraphs, sentences are not numbered. So as you can see here, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, the sentences are connected together, there is nothing. Once you go to the beginning of a paragraph and you see that the sentences are numbered, then be sure that there will be a question about what? Sentence placement. Okay? So what you do first is that you go to the question. As we said, you read it. Is the sentence already there, or do we need to add a sentence? No, it's already there. Which sentence it is? It is 5. Okay? So now you are reading and you're keeping in mind that sentence number 5, you need to place it correctly. And of course, just keep in mind the number comes before the sentence, not after. So this is sentence number 1. This is sentence number 2, and so on. And this is the sentence I'm asked about, number 5. Okay? This is what I should decide about. So I just keep that in mind when I'm reading. But as we said, you're not going to just waste your time reading to answer this question. As you can see in this paragraph, we have questions 2 and 3, and even 4. So we are going to do these questions while we are reading 2, 3, and 4, and then I can go to the sentence placement question, so that I'm doing 2 things at the same time. Okay, let's start. But remember, what you're doing is you're reading, you're highlighting the keywords, you're moving on until there's a question, you stop, you answer it, and then you continue. So the main environmental problem, as you can see, this is my first key phrase, environmental problem. Caused by what? What is the cause? It's the production of Greek yogurt. Okay, what is it caused? It's the creation of acid whey. So we are producing Greek yogurt. When we produce Greek yogurt, we have an environmental problem. What is it? It's acid whey. Now we need to understand, why is it a problem? Because it requires up to 4 times more milk, so it needs more milk to make than conventional yogurt does. Greek yogurt produces larger amounts of acid whey. Okay, we already know that acid whey is a problem, but why? Because it's difficult to dispose. As you can see, I'm reading, I'm analyzing. What's the problem? It's the acid whey. Where does it come from? From the production of Greek yogurt. Why is it a problem? Because this acid whey is difficult to get rid of, to dispose of. Okay. Now, after that, as you can see, what did they tell us? To address this problem of disposal. So now we have the problem of disposing of this acid waste. So to address this problem, farmers have found a number of uses for acid waste. Okay, we cannot get rid of it. Let's use it. Now, first of all, from now, I can decide that the general relationship of ideas here in this sentence is what? Can you tell me? Is it sequence? Is it comparison? Is it contrast? Is it problem solution? Is it sequence?
Problem
What is
and
it?
solution.
Exactly. So I already know that what we are doing in this paragraph, we are talking about a problem and then we are suggesting solutions. And the first solution, or actually the main solution here is, okay, we cannot get rid of it. We cannot dispose it. Let's use it. So these farmers have found a number of uses. What is the first use? They can add it to livestock feed as a protein supplement. And people can make their own Greek yogurt at home by straining regular yogurt. Now, I stop here because I have question number 2. What does it say? Which choice provides the most relevant detail? So this is a focus question because it's about relevance. Okay, relevant to what? To the discussion. We already said at the beginning of the sentence here is that we're talking about a number of uses for acid waste. And we said number 1 is to use it as a protein supplement. Okay, great. So what do I expect in the second part of the sentence? I expect another use because we said a number of uses. After you said a number of uses, you cannot just mention one use, right? You need more. So now all I need to do is that I look at these options and I just use the sentence that gives me another use for acid waste. Does that make sense now? Okay, great. Thank you, Osama. Yes. So if we look at the original sentence here, they're telling us that people can make their own Greek yogurt at home. How? By straining regular yogurt. Okay. Is this another use for acid waste? No. They're just telling us that people can make their own Greek yogurt at home. Okay, where is the use? Not for Greek yogurt, acid waste. There is no use. So A doesn't work. Okay? Remember, don't be confused. We're talking about Greek yogurt, but when we make it, there is a byproduct, which is the acid waste. The problem is not the Greek yogurt, it's the acid waste that comes from the Greek yogurt. So A is wrong. What about B? Converted into gas. Okay, so now we're making this acid waste gas and we use it. Look, that's the keyword. And we use it as fuel in electricity production. Is that another use for acid waste? Yes. We use it as a fuel for electricity production. All right, so far B is the right answer. But again, when your answer is A, B, or even C, you need quickly to check the other options. Okay, that's just to double check to make sure that this is the right answer. While sweet whey is more desirable as food additive for humans, here, look what they're doing. They are contrasting acid whey with sweet whey. So that's a contrast. They're not giving us a use of the acid whey, so C is wrong. D, which provides an important element for their diet. Here they are giving us extra information about the first use. They are telling us that, as we said, we can use it as protein supplement, and that provides an important element of their diet. But that's not another use of acid whey. So now I'm 100% sure that B is the right answer. So I chose it as the most relevant detail because keep in mind in sentence number 3, we said we have a number of uses. That means we cannot just add one. At least you should have 2 because uses is in plural. And that what made us know that B is the right answer because it tells us how we can use it as a fuel for electricity. All right, I'm done with this question. I keep reading. So I know that sentence number 1 is talking about the problem of acid waste. Sentence number 2 is telling us that it's a problem because of the disposal issue. Sentence number 3, they started with a solution for this problem. I continue. Now this is the question, or this is the sentence I'm asked about. If it's improperly introduced into the environment, acid waste runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. Now, in this sentence, we have a question, right? So In this question, we have 2 points. First of all, I have the tense, could have polluted, or has polluted. The other issue is the S. Does it need apostrophe, or is it the plural S? So very quickly, guys, just think about it. The tense and the S at the end of the word waterways, and send me your answers on the chat box. Quickly, please. Remember, in verb tense, we look at the other verbs in the sentence, because verb tense is related to parallel structure. All the verbs are in the present, all the verbs are in the past, and so on. Okay, great. So as we can see, for the tense issue, we say it's about parallel structure. Look, if it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid way, cannot, blah, 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 etc. As it decomposes. So as you can see, the 2 verbs that I have in the sentence are both in the present simple. Is in the present simple, decomposes is in the present simple. What does that mean? I need also the 3rd verb to be in the present simple, which means now I can eliminate C and D. Both don't work because this is the past, could have polluted, and this is present perfect, but I need present simple. All right, so I'm done with the first issue. C and D are wrong. Now, A starts with can pollute and B also starts with can pollute. The other issue is, do I need the plural S or the apostrophe S? Here, the apostrophe S, of course, it should be followed by a noun, right? But here, as you can see, we don't have a noun. Actually, we have a comma. So there is nothing to connect the apostrophe S to. So B is wrong, and the answer is A, no change. All right? So now we did number 3. Let's continue. Yogurt manufacturers, comma, food scientists, semicolon, and government officials are also working together to develop additional solutions for reusing whey. So what do we have here? We have a list. What kind of punctuation do we have in the list?
Comma.
Before and?
Comma.
Exactly. So the answer here is C. Right? I cannot use a semicolon before and, a colon, and I cannot use a comma before and after it. So the best answer is C. Now, as you can see, guys, we are not just wasting your time just trying to answer this question about sentence placement. We did 2, 3, and 4, and now we can answer number 5. Okay, here is the thing. We already decided that the relationship of ideas is what? Problem solution. All I need to do as a first step to ask myself, is sentence number 5 part of the problem or is it part of the solution? Because the problem is in the first part of the paragraph and the solution is in the second part. Let's read it together. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid way runoff can pollute waterways, depleting the oxygen content of streams and rivers as it decomposes. So these 2 words, pollute and depleting, they are telling us actually about the problem, right? They are negative, exactly. I already know that, no, introduced here, I'm sorry to interrupt, but introduced here, it's not in the past, it's passive, is introduced. So it's passive, but it's in the present, okay? All right, so now I already know that it's part of the problem. So it cannot be here in the solution part. It will be interrupting the solutions. So what I know now that I cannot keep it where it is now. That's for sure. Okay, so let's see where I can put it. So first of all, they told me about the problem. So it cannot be the first sentence because the first sentence is introducing the problem. And then the cause of the problem. Now, if we focus on the idea that we have in sentence number 5, actually, what are they telling us? They are telling us the results of the problem. Okay, what can happen? First of all, it can pollute the waterways. That's the first consequence of the problem. The second one, it will be depleting the oxygen content. There will be no oxygen anymore in streams and rivers and so on. So now, another thing we can think about is cause effect. Okay, because we said in the first sentence we have the problem. In the second sentence we have the cause, right? And in the third sentence we have the effect. So where should it be? Should it be after 1, after 2, or after 3? Now, again, after 3, we already started with the solution to address the problem, right? So we should have eliminated that before. So I know that it's not after 3 because it's part of the solution. And I know it's not A because it's also in that place, it's part of the solution. Now here, these two sentences are part of the problem. We already said we cannot use it after sentence number 1. So the best answer is C, because now it's like this. The first sentence, problem. The second sentence, cause. The third, where we put it now, it's the effect. So problem, the cause of the problem, the effect of the problem. And then we move where? To the solution of the problem. So now it's problem with all its details, the problem itself, its cause, its consequence, and then what kind of solutions we have for this problem. All right?
Yes.
So that's
question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So we can have more than one thought, yani we can have problem, solution, and cause effect in the same paragraph.
Look, the problem solution is the general relationship of ideas in the sentence. Okay, that's the theme of the whole paragraph. But within the sentences, when we connect sentences together, we might have contrast using the word however. We can have addition using the word furthermore. We can have idea and example. These are specific relationships, but the main relationship of ideas is problem solution. Okay? It's just about
it's the general one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The problem solution, welcome, is general. Cause effect, it's the solution. Sorry, the specific between sentences. Let's now try to answer another sentence placement question. All right. Okay, let me show you this question. All right. So again, as you can see here, we have this paragraph. And again, because there's a sentence placement question, what happens to the sentences? They are numbered. This is sentence number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, what do we do? Even if there are other questions, but first, since the sentences are numbered, I go immediately to the sentence placement question just to see if we're going to add a sentence or it's already there, but we're going to change its place. Here, again, it's already there and it's also sentence number 5. Okay? But as we said, we start from the beginning, we read, we answer other questions, and then we try to figure out where the sentence should be placed. Okay? So the State Hermitage Museum. So we're talking about a museum in St. Petersburg of Russia's greatest art museums, has long had a productive partnership. So again, look, I'm highlighting the keywords. I'm talking about a museum in Russia. It has a productive partnership with what? With a much loved animal, which is the cat. That's the main idea of the paragraph. Okay? This museum has long had a productive partnership with the cat. Okay, we continue. For centuries, cats have guarded. So how do they have a partnership? The first kind of partnership is that the cats protect these famous museums, ridding it of mice, rats, and other rodents that could damage the art, not to mention scared of visitors. Now I have a question here, so let's do it. The question is about the verb form. Should it be in the ed form, ing, base form, or present perfect? Again, when we are asked about the verb form, what are we talking about? Parallel structure. Good. Now, if we focus on the sentence itself, it says, cats have guarded, okay, this famous museum, ridding it of mice, rats, and other rodents that could damage the art, not to mention scared of. As you can see, we have different verbs here. The first one is in the present perfect, have guarded. The second one is participial, or present participle, ing. And the third one is base form, damage. Okay, so what should we do? Here we have ing, here we have base, here we have present perfect, and here we have ed. Okay, so what do we do? You tell me. I have all the different forms here, so which one should I stick to? Yes, please.
I was saying be scaring.
Why?
Because it needs to be parallel to ridding.
All right. When you have a list or a different, no, it's not the closest. Let me tell you something. Of course, we need just to connect this verb to its what? To its subject. So we ask ourselves, who is scaring off the visitors? Is it the cats or the rats and mice?
Cats.
Very quickly. Is it the cats? Are you sure? We said that the cats have protected, guarded this famous museum, ridding it of mice, rats, and other rodents that. So look, this is the subject, mice, rats, and other rodents that, we have a relative clause here, could damage the art. So who could damage the art?
The rodents.
It's the mice and rats. Not to mention, which means in addition to, scare of visitors. So now I know that the verb scare is not about cats. Actually, it's about the mice, rats, and other rodents. Okay? They scare off visitors. So now here I think about it. Have guarded is about cats. Ridding it of mice, it's also about cats. So it's neither of these two. Okay? But what do the rats and mice do? They could damage. So it's in the base form. Damage the art and scare of visitors. So the answer is C. Okay? So I have two verbs for the cats. They have guarded this museum, ridding it of mice. So one present perfect, one ing, both for cats. But I know that according to what I have here is that what scares visitors is not the cats, it's the rodents. So what do I have for rodents? I have could damage. Damage is in the base form. So to make the verb scared parallel with damage, I need, of course, the base form, and I choose a scare. Okay? So whenever you have a list of verbs, but this time you have different forms connected to the subject. Who's doing this action? What subject is this verb related to? And then you can easily, after that, decide what the right answer is. All right, let's continue. So remember, we're reading, we're highlighting the main points. So museum, partnership with the cat. And the first key point is protecting the museum. Okay, what's next? Peter the Great introduced the first cat to the Hermitage in the early 19th century. Okay. Later, Catherine the Great declared the cats to be official guardians of the galleries. All right, so here we have Catherine the Great. Okay, declare them as official guardians. Continuing the tradition, Peter's daughter, Elizaveta. So I'm talking about whom? I'm talking about Peter's daughter. Introduced the best and strongest cats in Russia to the Hermitage. Today, the museum holds a yearly festival honoring these faithful workers. Now, guys, from these words that we've highlighted together, who can tell me what is the general relationship of ideas in the sentence? Who can tell me?
Sequence.
Exactly. Thank you, Muhammad. It's sequence. So the first person who introduced cats to the museum was Peter the Great. We also have Catherine. We have his daughter Elizaveta. And then we have the other sequence word today, right? Now, the sentence we are asked about again, it's sentence number 5. Sentence number 5, it's talking about Peter's daughter. So here I have Peter, and then I have Catherine, and then I have Peter's daughter. What is that logical sequence? Can you tell me?
Isn't it supposed to be Peter then his daughter?
Exactly. That's the logical sequence. We have Peter, his daughter, and then Catherine. So the sentence here that I have, sentence number 5, actually should be here, right? That means I cannot keep it where it is now. It should not be, of course, after sentence number 1, but it should be after sentence number
3.
3. So the answer is C. And that's what you should do when you have a sentence placement question. You read the paragraph, you focus on the keywords, you highlight them just to, again, in order not to just reread the paragraph over and over again. No, you already have the summary of it with these keywords. So that after you answer all the other questions, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, you still have a summary. You still remember what the order of this ideas is, and then you can look at, again, sequence, problem solution, cause effect, etc., and choose the best answer to this question. Okay, guys. And with this, we're done with organization. Organization is all about introductions, transitions, conclusions, in addition to logical sequence. Okay. Now, the last area we have in the writing test that we haven't covered yet is what? It's effective language use. Okay, guys. What do we mean by effective language use? I shared with you earlier a chapter from the book published by College Board, talking about all different categories of writing. So let me just see there.
So what are the chapters that we finished? We finished
everything.
So what are we? Okay, we finished English convention and what else? Standard English.
Expression of ideas.
Yes.
All right, so the final area that we need to cover is effective language use. Okay, and we already covered concision, which is about wordiness and redundancy. That's already covered. We also covered syntax, which is about combining sentences together. We already did that. And we covered style and tone when we talked about the formality of the language. Okay? We said that when we have options that give us the same meaning, and it's not about wordiness, then we look at the kind of words are used. Are they informal, formal, or too formal? We said, of course, we should be in between. We're not going to use informal language in the SAT passages, but at the same time, we're not going to use too fancy, complicated words that people rarely use. Okay, we covered that point. Of course, from the beginning, when we talk about sentence structure, now we know many different ways how to connect sentences together. and we talked about wordiness and redundancy. So we have only one point to cover in effective language use, which is precision. What does it mean, precision? Simply, it means word choice. Okay, so let's talk about that. Just remind me before we end the meeting to send you the PDF, okay? So before you leave, remind me, because sometimes I forget and we get the document lost, unfortunately. All right, so now we are in the area of effective language use. We said we have 4 areas. First one, let's say concision. We already covered redundancy and wordiness. 2, we have style and tone, which is the formality of the language. We already covered. 3, we have syntax, which is combining sentences together, and we already covered. But now we have number 4, which is precision. Precision, of course, it means what? Who can remind me? What is the meaning of the word precision as a word, not SAT and stuff? In general, precise, precision, what does that mean?
It's accuracy.
Accuracy, thank you so much. And here, when we talk about precision on the SAT, we're talking about word choice, okay? Which means, of course, there is an underlined word in a sentence. And the options, all of the options, A, which is the sentence already there, or the other options, B and C and D. And the let me say here. And all the options, okay, provide or present words with the same general concept, okay, which means they all have the same general meaning, all right, but general meaning, okay? However, these words are used in what? In different contexts, okay? So I can give you 4 words, and these 4 words have the same general concepts, okay? But despite the fact they have the same general concept or the same general meaning, they are used in different contexts, okay? So it's all about the context. So what I need to do, okay, to choose the best words, we need to get the context. As usual, you're gonna read, highlight words, okay? Highlighting the keywords and understanding what can be used best in that specific context. Okay, let me show you an example. All right, so here, actually, the first question in this test is about word choice. And here we have these words. We have outdo, defeat, outperform, outweigh. As you can see, 3 out of the 4 options start with the prefix out, out, out. Who can tell me, when we use out as a prefix for a verb, what kind of meaning does it have? What does out mean here as a prefix? We add it at the beginning of the verb. Any idea? When you outwork somebody, when you outsmart somebody.
More.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes, it's better. It's more. So as you can see, these 3 words are telling us about something that's happening more. This is the same general concept, but what's happening more, we go now to the context. So as we said, they have the same general concept, which is more, do more, perform more, weigh more, or even defeat. But how can I decide? I need the context. I need to analyze the context and choose the best word. So look, Greek yogurt businesses have found many methods of controlling and eliminating most environmental threats. Now, given these solutions, as well as many health benefits, so now I have solutions for the problem. Of course, this is the same passage that we've been doing, if you notice that, okay? About Greek yogurt and the problems that we can have. So these solutions, in addition to the health benefits, okay, because of these, what's happening? The advantages of Greek yogurt, something, the potential drawbacks of its production. So drawbacks is another word for what? Of course, disadvantages. What is the context here? The context is comparison. What are we comparing? We're comparing the advantages to the disadvantages of the production of a Greek yogurt. Okay? And what are we comparing? Again, the advantages and disadvantages. Now, in this context, what is the best word for advantages and disadvantages? Can we say that the advantages outdo the disadvantages? Can we say defeat, outperform, or outweigh? What do you think, guys? Can you tell me, please?
Outweigh.
Exactly. So the answer is Z. Yes, Osama, exactly. All right. So when we looked at the words in general, they had the same concept, which is more, outdo, outperform, outweigh, defeat. But when we looked at the context, it was a comparison between advantages, disadvantages, and because of that specific context, I cannot say outperform, I cannot say outdo, but I can say outweigh. Why? Because I'm comparing the advantages to the disadvantages. Let's do another question. Are you ready for another question? But this question, you're going to do it on your own. Okay, guys? This is the question that you have, number 10, okay? But the beginning of the sentence is in the previous page, so I'm going to zoom out. Oh, that's going to be a lot of zooming out. Okay, look, let me read it for you, okay? So here we are saying that because it's more concentrated, Greek yogurt contains slightly more protein. So this is cause-effect relationship. What's happening? The Greek yogurt is more concentrated than the usual yogurt or the conventional yogurt. Okay, what is the result? Because it's more concentrated, it contains more protein. Thereby, which means as a result, helping people stay what? That's the question now, okay? Because I'm not going to come back to this page. So focus with me, please. Greek yogurt is more concentrated. That means it has more protein. And because it has more protein, okay, it helps people stay what? For longer periods of time. It helps people stay satiated, fulfilled, complacent, or sufficient for longer periods of time. I'm going to give you some time to answer me this question. So send me your answers in the chat box, please. When you send me an answer, don't put a question mark after it, because now you're not giving me an answer, you are giving me a question, right? Okay, come on, guys. So remember, Greek yogurt is more concentrated, it has more protein, so it helps people stay what? For longer periods of time.
What does such, is it saturated or
Oops, I cannot tell you right now. You're doing a question. So you're going to figure that on your own. Okay, now, if we look at the 4 words, what is the general concept that they all have? Who can tell me? Because yes, I have 4 different words, but they all have the same general concept. What is it?
A full point يعني.
They all, in one way or another, mean satisfied. Okay? Because fulfilled, it means you are satisfied about your achievements. You fulfill, you achieve things. So when you feel fulfilled, you're satisfied about your achievements in life. Complacent, it means confident. So you are satisfied with yourself. You have the confidence. We have D here. Sufficient simply means enough. So it means satisfied about the amount, quantity, level, and so on, right? Satiated, it's satisfied when we talk about, you know, it means full. So satisfied about the amount of food you eat, or, you know, the liquids and so on. Now, the general concept that all these words have is that satisfaction. One is about the amount or level of something, one is about the confidence, one is about the achievements, one about food. What are we talking about? Protein and Greek yogurt and so on. So of course, what is our you know, context? Can we say that Greek yogurt makes people more self-confident? Not really. Fulfilled? No. Sufficient? No. So what is the answer? It is A, satiated, which means full. Because it has more protein, then people will not feel hungry for longer periods of time because of the concentration of this Greek yogurt, right? So again, all the words have the same general meaning, but each one is used in a different way in a specific context.
Can you
Is
please
that
repeat
clear?
the meanings of B, C, and D? It cut off.
Okay. So fulfilled, it means it's used in the context of achievements. Okay. When you say he's a fulfilled young man, it means that this young man has made a lot of achievements in his life. Okay.
Yes.
Complacent, it's about self-confidence. That's what complacent is about. And sufficient is just about, it means enough. Sufficient, it means enough. And we use it to talk about levels or amounts. And satiated, we can use it to talk about liquids or food. Okay? So now we have officially finished everything related to the writing test. Okay? What's going to happen? I'm going to send you a PDF on the group. This PDF is a test. Okay? It has 44 questions. It's a complete writing test. And I will need you that maximum by tomorrow, but even tomorrow at night, I don't mind, but tomorrow, okay? No later than that. To send me your answers, all of your answers in one message, vertically on WhatsApp, okay? I'm gonna send you an example. And make sure that you send me your answers in this way, which means you cannot send me your answers in a picture, in a photo. You cannot send me your answers written next to each other. No, I need each answer in one line. The number and the letter. 1A, you skip a line. 2B, and so on. Because I'm going to put your answers in a template. This template will help me analyze your answers, and then that will help us to have a discussion on Thursday, inshallah. So what we're going to do on Thursday, based on your answers, okay? Based on your answers, we're going to discuss the questions of this test that I'm going to send you. We're going to learn from our mistakes. We're going to know what we got right, what we got wrong, why we got these questions wrong. I will tell you, of course, the right answer, not only what the right answer is, but why it's the right answer, what type of question it was, where is my weakness, why did I miss the right answer. This way, you will learn from your mistakes, and hopefully you will not make mistakes again in these kinds of questions. Okay? So again, on the group, I'm going to send you the test, and I'm going to send you a sample of how you should send your answer to me. So please follow this sample and send me your answers tomorrow. Maximum is the deadline. Okay? Yes, thank you, Muhammad. Yeah, I already saved this file. I'm going to send it on the group as well. Thank you. Do you have any question?
Yes. Can you please repeat what style and tone were? Like what?
Formality. Formality, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. All right, that's it for today. Make sure that you do the test tomorrow and send me your answers on WhatsApp, and we will see each other again on Thursday, inshallah. Goodbye.